again, a lot of people think Romney will be the choice. So what does that mean for Santorum going forward? We have Colleen McCain-Nelson, who's joining us from Washington this morning with a look at Santorum's position and where he goes from here. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So Santorum, you know, he's surprised a lot of people in how far he's been able to come, how many delegates he has been able to win here, still lagging behind Romney, who many still believe will be the front runner. So what position does that put him in politically, not only right now in this contest, but his political career going forward?
Well, it's an interesting question for Rick Santorum because he has had a lot more success than anyone expected. He came from near the back of the pack. He's really built a constituency within the Republican Party. He's won a lot of states. He has a very loyal following. But right now, the math just looks to be against him. And so there are calls within the party for him to start working on an exit strategy and kind of put this to an end and allow the party to coalesce behind Mitt Romney. And so for Rick Santorum, it's a tough decision to make. It's a very personal decision to make. You have to weigh both your prospects in the immediate future as well as on down the road if you aspire to run again. And he has to decide what gets him the most political capital. Should he stay in the race, continue to rack up delegates, try to have a larger voice in the party, or should he exit gracefully and not risk offending party elders and maybe set himself up for a run in the future?
And Colleen, as your story notes, there's some party insiders who feel that it's inappropriate for Santorum to be attacking Mitt Romney right now. That if Rick Santorum just kind of talked the Rick Santorum book, he'd be able to stay in the race. But if he's going to sit around and take pot shots at the front runner, that looks a little unseemly to voters.
Exactly. I think it would be a lot more palatable to people who are Mitt Romney supporters if Rick Santorum were really just pushing his agenda. And that's part of the reason why you don't hear calls for, say, Ron Paul to get out. I mean, he's kind of a happy warrior who's doing his own thing, and he's not really messing with the other candidates. But Rick Santorum is still, you know, has guns blazing and really taking hits at Mitt Romney. And we saw that over the weekend in particular. I mean, he's saying things like, because of his position on healthcare, Mitt Romney is the worst possible Republican to make the argument against President Obama. And so he's really hitting hard against Mitt Romney, and some people worry that that could damage Romney going forward. So that makes some people more inclined to say, please get out of the race, Rick Santorum.
But there doesn't seem to be any real indication he's planning on doing that anytime soon. And as you mentioned again in your story, that the Pennsylvania primary certainly seems important to him, and maybe important to him again if he wants to turn around this political career in the future.
And of course, he is a former senator from Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. His team and the candidate himself have given no indication that the end is near. I mean, they absolutely are talking about Pennsylvania and beyond. They continue to talk about Texas, which isn't until May 29th, and they really feel like the May calendar is more favorable to them. They also have been talking for a very long time about the Pennsylvania primary, which is April 24th. And there's some personal meaning there for Rick Santorum. He was a senator from Pennsylvania. His last re-election bid in 2006, he lost by 18 points, which was one of the largest losses for an incumbent senator in history. So I think there's some feeling that he wants to avenge that loss and at least go out on a high note in his own home state.